Cool. So thanks again, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. So as Chris mentioned, I will be talking about exciting search features that we released this year. So we all know the importance of finding data in the tenant, right? So it's even more important to efficiently and accurately find these data that we need so that we can quickly gain insights and share results with our team members. So in the first half of today's webinar, I will be showcasing the new search experience and kind of walk you through how to quickly segment profiles and take actions on your results. And then after that, I will go over the graph search and demonstrate how you can then find profiles by traversing through the graph or by searching via relationships. All right, so new search UX. About a year ago, we released a new search experience. So you may all be familiar with it as it is now the default search UI. And so during the optimization of this new search experience, we focused mostly on stewardship efficiency and business user segmentation use cases. So in the next few slides, I'm just going to go over some key features of the search feature, then demonstrate how a marketing expert can then leverage these features to segment for accounts. So Reltio Search provides you with 3 different ways to explore data, right? The first one is with the configurable and recommended filters on the left panel here, and it allows you to quickly segment your data. Secondly, via the advanced search, which then allows you to get very specific about your criteria. And finally, a Google-like keyword search, right here at the top of the header, which is actually very powerful and will search across all entities and attributes. ML-based recommended filters. So an entity type can have over 200 attributes. So having the ability to quickly access, the right set of attributes is really important for a segmentation task. So with ML-based recommended filters, you are presented with your most frequently searched on attributes first, right? As seen here, and it's noted with this badge tag here on the left, right? Is that a question? And so
I'll take care of it just a sec.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. And so, and it makes it a lot more convenient for you and faster for you to select, these attributes that you are more likely to filter on. Another exciting feature that we introduced in the new search experience is providing our users, with the ability to better slice and dice their data with advanced query building. So with our advanced search, it supports and/or conditions, it supports grouping, as you can see here, and it really allows you to specify, additional requirements, helps refine the search, and also it supports different kinds of operators, so such as equals, not, greater than, or equal, among other things, so you can get very specific about your search criteria. Saved and recent searches. So again, we understand that stewardship is a team effort, right? And we've seen that data stewards or even, business users are more often going to filter on the same type of attributes time and again. So having that ability to save your searches and then accessing them again in the future is extremely valuable. So we also added this recent searches here. So then if you want to retrieve a search query you conducted a few days ago without having to recreate it again, this actually saves you time in your business process. And geospatial segmentation. So with this, users can filter using the map by drawing a polygon around the area that they're interested in. This is a really convenient way to search for profiles within a specific area in the map. So a great use case for this is if a field representative is visiting a key account, let's say in Los Angeles, right? He's going to be there for a few days. And while he's there, he also wants to visit other accounts in the area. So he can leverage this geospatial segmentation feature and filter around this area and filter for those accounts that are also within this greater area. And finally, the new search experience supports bulk update, right? Where our users can both edit profiles or delete profiles in bulk. A great feature if you need an attribute, if you want to, for example, add an attribute or edit an attribute to multiple profiles. So instead of doing this one by one, which can be extremely cumbersome, you can leverage the bulk update feature and edit those profiles in 4 steps. So in this example, as you see, I want to add a new tag, to multiple profiles. I can just, define those changes here and go ahead and execute it. So I will go through each of these features in the demo and really demonstrate the power of our search experience. But before we do that, I'm going to take this user scenario, an example of a marketing expert, Tammy, right? So she is hosting a TED Talk roundtable in the Los Angeles area and wants to invite high value accounts. So she wants to leverage the Reltio search UI and find a segment of high value organizations and take actions on them. So she specifically wants to filter on revenue, location, and an industry. So let's go ahead over to the UI. And I'll show you how Tammy can achieve, her search needs using the many capabilities of the search. Let me move this. Okay. So as you can see here, this is a search UI. The page is laid out into 3 main areas. The leftmost panel is where you can filter, right? Either using our faceted search to quickly filter on most used attributes, or the advanced search for more complex search queries. The center panel is where you can see search results in multiple ways, right? Table view, list view, detail view, and map. And finally, at the top right is where you can take actions on your search results. So for this particular example, Tammy wants to search for organizations, right? So she selects that respective entity type. And as you can see here on the left, right, the faceted attributes are pre-populated based on the entity type that I selected. So these attributes are configurable via the UI configuration. So it makes it a lot easier to have basically the most frequently used attributes readily available and accessible for you and the team. So in this case, Tammy wants to filter on industry and location. So she can go ahead and filter on those attributes by searching and selecting them from this attributes list. And as you can see in this list, right, it shows the recommended attributes at the top, followed by the entity specific attributes here at the bottom. So again, we understand how busy our users are, right? And the need for them to quickly filter through their data set so they can be as productive as possible. So we really have added ways to better assist you in your search experience. And this is by, adding or introducing these recommended filters or attributes. There are suggested attributes based on, Tammy's search behavior and patterns. It's driven by machine learning techniques, really to provide the most likely used attributes for that user. So,
hey, Carina.
Yep.
Quick question. Can displayed attributes of search results be saved?
Display attributes of search results be saved? Yes, it can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So in this case, Tammy can go ahead and search for attributes that she wants to search on. So industry, she selects that. I'm going to go ahead and unselect this industry code nested attribute. And also I want state. Right. So notice it adds it to the top. And as you can see here, right, some of the attributes are displayed in a visual graphical representation, such as this Reltio rank score. This helps really guide our users to get more accurate results. So if Tammy, for example, wants to filter on Reltio rank, she can move this slider to filter on those values, right? Or from a precise filtering, she can go ahead and just type in the value on this text field. But in this case, she doesn't want to filter, so I'm going to remove that filter from the top and focus mostly on state and industry. So Tammy wants to only find organizations within the professional and scientific services, right? And within California. So, so as Tammy filters on these attributes, the results are returned automatically and the count is updated, right? Based on what was filtered on it. So this really continuously informs her of the number of profiles that meet her query. In addition, also to add on to what Chris was saying, right? User preferences are also automatically saved. So the next time, for example, that Tommy logs in, she can continue from where she left off and avoid having to re-add the same attributes again. Advanced search. So if Tammy wants to create complex search query, she can utilize our advanced search capabilities. So our advanced search supports complex criteria like grouping, right? You can add a set and also or conditions, as you could see here. So for this example, Tammy wants to search for any accounts with a revenue greater than or equal to $40 million. So advanced search supports these different kinds of operators other than equals. So let's say that Tammy wants to, let's say it's greater than or equal to 40 million. Right. And so notice that again, the search results are automatically updated, with the count. So then it continuously informs Tammy of the number of search results that her query has yielded. And in the advanced search, there also, it provides contextual options that allow her to add a new set, delete a set, duplicate a set. In addition, also at every level, there are conditions like and, or, and not, and or not. So these functionalities really allow her to build extremely complex queries on top of her data.
Hey, Carina, quickly. So when you save those search results based on the attribute list, can it be made public?
Yes, Chris, and I'm going to go over that,
Okay.
after she does that. Yeah. Yes, it does.
Beautiful.
Chris.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Another question, so might as well take them while they're coming. Why are these spaces in the state column? How can we be sure that they are in like California, for example, or CA?
What are the,
Why are there spaces in the state column? So how can we be sure they're not in CA, California, for example?
the spaces in the state column?
And Bob, you might kind of speak up a little bit.
Sure, and the result set below. You have some that have CA and some are blank.
Yes. And so it's just the way that this tenant, the data was uploaded. And so it actually, it's still, these are all still basically organizations within California. And you'll see that I'll also kind of filter on city here next, but it's just basically how the data has been loaded. But essentially this will all be populated with the state California for your own data set.
If the data load is different, but then why the state is blank? I mean, how could you look at the result and confirm this is all in California?
Yeah, and so I believe it's really the way that the address is also here loaded in this specific tenant. It does recognize that it's in California based on basically the metropolitan division, all the other attributes within this. But specifically for the state, it's blank because of just the way that this data is being presented or has been loaded for this tenant.
I don't think any data steward look at data will actually consider this is in California when it's blank.
These attributes. And that's something that I will also look into with our engineering team, why it's doing blank, but this is something that I've also noticed during the demo. And this is Charita, right?
Usually you catch that in your RDM, right? Where you would take California, make it CA, and if it's blanks,
Correct.
you would catch it there.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, Carina.
Sure. All right. So once Tammy has finished defining her search query, right? So she can go ahead and minimize this panel, right? So she can have more real estate to view, her search results. So let's go ahead and collapse this panel. Additionally, also, if she wants to focus on her search query, she can make this panel full screen, right? So let's go ahead and minimize this. And so now Tammy has this list of organizations, and she can view them in different ways. So right now you're viewing them in a table view. And so it's a grid structure, right? That is characterized by rows and columns. In this case, the rows represent the profiles, and the columns are basically the respective attributes of that entity type. So the table view allows her to view multiple attributes, in a grid structure, so she can easily compare values, across profiles. So there are multiple ways that she can manage this table view, such as, setting up what attribute columns to show, reordering the columns, resizing columns, and sorting on the columns. So if she wants to configure what attribute columns, she wants to hide and show, she can simply click on this button, right? And search for that attribute that she wants to show and hide the ones that she wants. So if she wants basically to show entity ID and some scores, she can go ahead and click on those columns. And if she wants to hide, let's say city, and she can go ahead and unclick that. Right. And so also, alternatively, you can also do these types of actions contextually on the table. So if she wants to hide, for example, this attribute column, she can do so here by hiding it, and also inserting an attribute column either to the left or right of this. So this is, particularly useful if she wants to, for example, add the entity ID to the left of this, or she can simply also drag and drop this to the left, and you can also then reorder the columns by simply dragging and dropping. And finally, you can also resize this column. So if there are any kind of, long string values here, you can go ahead and resize it by dragging the size of the column so you can have more real estate to view that information. And finally, another way to organize the information is by sorting. So she can sort on this attribute value, by clicking on this arrow right here. And so it'll sort then the list based on the sales revenue amount, either in ascending or also descending order. So other than the table view, we also have a list view, which is good for efficient scanning of search results. So the attributes in the list view are also configurable. So Tammy can focus on the attributes most important to her and her team. And then for a more detailed view of the return profile list, we also offer this detailed view. So she can then view a summary of the profiles and help further confirm, right, if she has the list that she needs without her having to navigate to its individual profile page. And also now we have this map view. So now let's imagine, right, Tammy wants to only get a list of individuals within a certain, geolocation. So she can use this map view to segment profiles based on an area by simply drawing a polygon on the map. So let's go ahead and only capture those profiles within this area. So as you can see, the search results not only show you individuals that reside, within this, greater LA area. In addition, if she wants to search while moving the map, right, she can do so by clicking on this checkbox right here. And so what it does is that as she moves the map to the other areas, it only returns profiles within the map window. So I can go ahead and drag this, right? And then it will only return me profiles within that map window. I can go ahead and zoom out so I can view more profiles, or zoom in to capture more of that specific area. Okay. All right. So now Tammy has, finalized her search results. She can do a number of actions. Again, the actions are located here at the top. She can save her search results, share the link to her search query, export the search, or edit the profiles in bulk. So oftentimes, right, our users conduct the same search time and again. So, and again, it's a team collaboration. So it's important to share these search queries with the team. So Tammy can go ahead and save this in the in the future. So you can say high value accounts. She can choose to only save it, save it privately where she can only have access to it, or go ahead and make it available for her and the rest of the team. So I'll go ahead and say all users, and I'll go ahead and save that. And once it saves, right, you could then see it, and it's now accessible using that saved and recent searches, and you could see it here. And Tammy and her other team members can then go ahead and access, this saved search, so then they don't have to redo this search again, and she can go ahead and share it with her team. Another way of sharing a search result is by providing them with the share link here. Right, so you can copy the link, go ahead and message it or send it to a team member, and then they can go ahead and paste that in, and they'll see that the query the search query will be the same as what Tammy had done. Tammy can also export her search results, right? Work on the list offline or share a physical file with others in the team. And finally, also bulk update. So let's imagine now that, Tammy finalized her results. She wants to add a tag to these profiles, right? So instead of going to each of these profiles one by one, she can leverage the bulk update and add this value to all the profiles. So the bulk update consists of 4 steps, right? With the first step is the review phase, where Tammy can confirm the profiles she wants to edit. And the second step, she can select the type of actions that she wants to perform. She can either choose to update the profiles or delete the profiles in bulk. All right, so in this case, she wants to go ahead and edit it. And then the third step is where she would define the changes that she wants to do. In this case, she wants to go ahead and add a new tag, right? And I want to tag it high value accounts. And then fourth step is where you kind of confirm your changes to see if these are basically the changes that you want to do. And then you confirm it. It's going to run in the background, but you will get an email confirmation basically notifying her when the job has completed. So yeah, so as you had just seen, the search experience really offers Tammy and other business users and data stewards the tools that she needed to really efficiently segment the data to either run campaigns or gain insights on the search results.
Hey, Carina, a lot of good stuff here. So thank you so much. And we have some questions and comments. So I'm just going to kind of read those and let you react. One to the question. One was, are you planning to show export, which you sort of did, but didn't go into detail? And he basically said, look, we're interested in understanding how to save export settings like list of columns, et cetera, like simple tasks to get rid of, crosswalks like Reltio ID, Salesforce ID, SAP ID, that kind of stuff.
Right. And I can quickly show that. So once you click on this export, right, so it takes you to our export application, right, in console, and it allows you to basically select the attributes that you want to include in your export file. So is this what you meant by the ability to save basically the format, like the attributes to include? So for example, if I don't want any of these other attributes here, the ability to basically, the next time that I want to export, having that ability to save those types of options.
Georgie, I don't know if you want to kind of react to that.
Carina,
Yes, the idea is to be able to save what I have selected for export. Because you see here it is selection and you click, okay, it is quite fast, but if you want to do it weekly, for example.
Got it.
Then,
I agree. I actually agree because because of the exporting, sometimes including some extra columns, and sometimes this is a convenient tool, but we don't want it to give just to the average user because of these confusion of extra columns. So if you can have a standard template, if you will, you can just give to any users using this template to export.
Got
And
it.
so right now we are kind of limiting the export usage for our expert users, so
Right.
that we can clean up before we deliver the file.
Right. Yeah, understood. Right now, we don't support that feature, but that is definitely something that, we will take a look at to see how we can make that more efficient for you. Because I do understand, the need to have to unselect and select these time and again, and it's very frustrating. So I will definitely look into it.
we have posted an idea about it quite long, I think several months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and Vivian, maybe, so Georgie, my recommendation is if you can find that link to the idea or have Vivian go search for it and upvote it. So I think any of those kinds of things would be extremely helpful. But
Yep,
definitely.
definitely. Yeah. Thanks, Georgie and Vivian. We will definitely
One system as master and the other
Appreciate
as
it. So the next question is, or maybe it was a suggestion from Sandro. He said, I'm sure you'll do this, but a good example with leveraging sets, SETS, would be good to show. So we learned to use it a lot, but it's not obvious to users, new users specifically, on how they can benefit from it.
Got it. Okay. So here you have, let me actually expand this. Okay. So here you have just one set, right? I'm searching for an organization where the attribute is industry, the state is California, sales revenue is this, right? So now if I want to basically search also for organizations, but the industry is different, maybe the location may be different, but the sales revenue may be the same. I want to search for the same attributes. I can actually leverage this, duplicate set where I don't have to search for the attributes again. I can just change the values. So if I want to say, I want to search for organizations, professional and scientific, or also organizations in the healthcare industry, right? But not in California, right? I want to search for it maybe in New Jersey. This is how you'll leverage grouping. So now what it does, what I'm searching for is basically organizations where the industry is this equals to professional, located in California with a sales revenue, amount of 40 million, or organization where the industry, is healthcare, located in New Jersey with the sales revenue amount of 40 million. So, I'm focused on only really yielding or having results with high revenue accounts over 40 million of different industry, also of different locations. So that's really how I can leverage this grouping. And so I can also change these conditions to end, right? And so what it'll do is it'll search for any organizations that meet both of these, or it's either going to meet this set or it's going to meet this set, and it's going to give me those two sets of profiles.
Great, Carina. And there's some others that are asking on how to do certain things. So what I want to do first, though, is kind of get through some of the presentation, because I know we have graph search. But then if there's time at the end, we definitely want to
Yeah.
get those questions answered. That's fair.
Definitely.
Okay.
Okay. So graph search. So what I had just demonstrated is how business users and data stewards can segment data by searching through attributes. So now what if Tammy wants to search for partners of those attributes? So this type of relationship search is supported via our graph search. So with our graph search, user can traverse through the graph and search for entities based on relationship connections. So our graph search capability can support up to 3-level connections, as you can see here. So I'm searching for an organization with a relationship partner. Basically, organization who are partnered with an organization of the same industry, who have basically employee contacts with the title SVP, right? So this is basically what the kind of, and it shows you the different kind of levels and how I can traverse through the graph to find the profiles that I need. And in addition, entity and relationship attributes can also be added in the search criteria, as you can see here. So not only can a user traverse through the graph, but they can also specify the object attributes to further narrow down their search results. And finally, we have just added the ability to export also your graph search results, directly from the UI. So you can export your search results, select the attributes you want to include in your search, in your export rather, and select the file format. So the graph search is currently in early access. So as we receive more feedback from our EA users, we are continuously introducing more features to improve the user experience and meet more use cases. So let's go back to our marketing expert, Tammy, and she wants to create more synergy in the TED Talk discussion. So she wants to search for overlaps between accounts. She wants to search for organizations that have partner organizations of the same industry with board members who have the role as VP. She wants to invite also these organizations. So then, they could spawn more engaging discussions and interactions in the TED Talk. So let's go back to our search. And here in the left navigation panel, there are 2 ways to search, right? Regular search, which I had just showed you, and graph search. So to search on relationship, go ahead and click on that graph search. And the first thing Tammy needs to do is select the entity type of profile she wants to search for. So in this case, it's organization. So she wants to search for organizations that have partner organizations of the same industry. So here's where I would filter on the attribute for that organization, right? So industry, again, professional and scientific, and I want to search for the relationship partner of the organization of the same industry type. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and search that, and you can kind of see how the structure of the relationship that I'm searching on here on the left panel. So then I'm always looking at this to see if this is really it confirms my search query and criteria. So here it returned 3 profiles, right? So far so good. So, but I'm not done yet. I want to search of these organizations, right? I want us to search for or have basically these organizations where the board member contact has the title SVP. So I'm going to go back to my graph search, right? So here's my organization. Now I want to add another relationship. So basically I want to add a relationship to this organization with the relationship type is board member, right? And the entity type in this case, it's contact. And I want the contact to be employed at an organization, but the title I want to be SVP only. So notice how I can also filter on relationship attributes. So employee is the relationship between contact and organization, and title is the attribute of this employee relationship. So I can go ahead and also filter on that relationship attribute. In addition to also, we support, filtering for relationships that exist or does not exist, or it's missing. So I can essentially search for any, organization that does not have any partners organization. I can do that as well, using this exist or missing operator here. So let me go ahead and search. As you see, it narrowed down, the search results from 3 to 1. And after this, I can go ahead and also export this and select the attributes that I want to export, and go ahead and either share that with my team members or work on it offline. So again, this is an EA. In the future, we are continuously going to support many other features so that you can better segment your data for graph search. All right, so with that, definitely would love to open the floor with any questions. And also I have here Aberdeep from the PM team who will help answer with, any graph search questions that you may have. So
yeah, so there's some questions that I think mostly have been answered,
sure.
but let me go through some of this. So Manish says, I suppose the saved searches, and this is kind of going back to the first conversation, but he said, I suppose the save searches recalculates the result set every time. Is that right?
Yes. So it'll save the search query.
Okay.
Correct.
And then, and this might have been answered, but I'm not 100% sure, but are bulk update activities reflected in the activity log? So that's kind of going back to the last conversation.
Yes, they are. So for example, and just to kind of clarify it. So for example, if I were to conduct a bulk update, it's going to, that event is going to reflect in the activity log, correct?
Okay, good. And then are delete soft deletes, or, like soft deletes, does it update in the end date? And do all the update deletes show up in the activity log?
That I would need help from my PM group.
Okay.
Yeah, to answer that question, that I'm not quite sure of.
Okay, and it
we'll
might have,
follow up with you.
yeah, and it
on
might have
that.
been answered already. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have to keep. So Angie mentions, and I see that Gino or somebody tried to answer the question, but she said, "Can you please show that drawing on the map again that you did earlier?" When she tries to move the map around, it doesn't draw the line.
Oh, you mean this thing? Okay, sure.
Yeah, you put that line on there earlier and did
Sure.
some cool stuff.
So as I open this map, so I'm going to close it again, right? So to activate the map, I click on this view map button, and I see there are 14 kind of profiles within, this Western North American region. So I can simply just click on that, right? Now, if I only want to, I'll be maybe in this Downey Compton area, right? So I want to only basically get these profiles within this area. So I would click on this draw, right? And I would just kind of click, right? Kind of drag my cursor, click again, and just kind of draw, a simple polygon around that specific area.
I think the issue probably was that she was holding down the mouse button while, because if you do that, it will move the map.
Got it. Yeah.
Release the mouse button after each click.
Yes. Thanks, Gino.
It's so technical. So cool. Hopefully that resolved the problem. What about bulk updates to attributes such as zip code changes for restructuring, or a nested attribute? Example like could be Salesforce. Does that make sense?
So the question is, are you able to conduct a bulk update for these types of, if you want to change a zip code and multiple profiles, and also nested attributes. Is
Yeah.
that the question? Yeah.
It looks like it. Yeah.
And you can. So again, here I'll do an update profile, define changes. I don't have this specific set. So if I want to, change the zip code of all of these 14 profiles that I have, right? I can either add a new one, which will add a new value. I can clear the attributes. So for any of these profiles that have zip5 in them, it will clear them. I can either replace all with another value. I can find and replace. So for example, of all these profiles, I want to only replace those that have a zip5 of 94089 to something else. I can do that too, or I can also find and remove. So there are different actions that you can take to conduct these kind of bulk operations. And also you can pin it. You can make that specific value the operational value, or create a parent attribute if none exists. So these are all the other actions that you can take, and you can add conditions on top of that as well. So for example, I only want to change the zip5 if only the city is of some value. So you can also have those advanced kind of conditions or queries reflecting your bulk update.
Okay, and you might have done this. So the next question is, can you demo how to do bulk update of an attribute with the nested attribute? Is that what you just did, or?
Oh yeah, so address, so zip5 is a sub attribute of the nested address. And so if I want to basically add a new value for zip5, right? So this, I want to make this maybe the OV value of that. I can go ahead and do it for that. So notice here, so I kind of hovered over this, right? So zip5 is a sub attribute of address. And you can kind of see, right, the hierarchy or the structure of where this specific attribute is coming from. And so then I can go ahead and confirm this action.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think we have lots more questions, and we're going to get to the graph search. So, from what I can see right now very excited. Sandro couldn't wait to see this, and he wants access now. So we'll make sure that he can get some kind of access through CSM. So based on graph search, does that introduce a different API, or will this mean that the HOPS API call can now be filtered as well?
I'm going to defer this to Abradeep. Abradeep, are you on?
Yeah, so graph search has a separate set of APIs at this point of time.
Okay, can those be found specifically on the docs portal?
Yeah,
or?
I'll provide the links here.
Okay. Okay, good.
Sorry, can I just add to that? Does that mean then that where we're using the hops call today, which has always been a bit of a pain point, that we can't filter the hops call, that we would end up replacing that with these new APIs? Because there is a lot of value now. We've had to sort of roll up the business rules when we couldn't filter in the hops call.
I have to check on that regarding the hops API, but graph search as a separate has a set of APIs, and if that is supporting the use case that you're currently doing using hops API, I think you can replace that with the new graph APIs if the functionality is solved. Yeah,
that's something that's not available yet, though. We'll have to wait till it's available.
Already, I can add a little bit of context to that too.
Yep,
so
sure.
the hops API is really for the actual traversal of objects, right? You can literally hop between entities. And so I think that there will still be use cases where the hops API will need to be leveraged because of, simply I have an individual entity and I want to be able to literally hop to things that are surrounding it. I would look at this as the ability to filter and drill down and search and crawl across the graph to identify objects. And most of the time, for a lot of our customers, they're leveraging the hops API to do that. But certainly there are still use cases where I would see the hops API being leveraged for traversal. I hope that makes sense.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, it does. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I didn't mean to replace hops altogether, just where we have use cases where we want to filter on different relationship attributes, for example. That would be useful in some of our use cases.
Yep, I think that for a large majority of the usage that we see for hops, it's really around that filtering and crawling. So the identification of objects like, I don't know, and I want to see all of the objects that have at least 3 relationships and, are in the state of California and have board directors that are SVPs, right? The really complex queries that need to crawl across the graph and identify objects. Today, you have to do that by finding a starting point and literally manually crawling. With that hops endpoint, we hope that you won't have to do that in the future.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thanks, Mike. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, Averdeep and Mike and Sandro again for a question. So I got another question.
I have a.
Go ahead,
sorry,
Vivian.
go ahead.
Vivian, go ahead.
I have a question. So, I mean, like I don't think I completely understand. So, if we have a hierarchy structure as you display, organization, partner, etc. So, are you saying that if I have some employee underneath and I want to say, who's what is that? Organization at the top. If I want to see all the employees at the top organization, can I do that with this graph search?
So Vivi, you want to search for employees rather than—
Yes, all the employees belong to the top organization.
Yeah.
You can.
Okay.
So you have to start with employee and then go through the relationship that has organization and provide the organization name as the filter query, and that will show all the employees that relates to that organization.
I see. Okay. Today we actually added an attribute to the employee whose organization's name, and that's how we do it. And it really creates some kind of a performance issue when we do that. I actually have a second question. So today when we display the hierarchy, there's a limit. If it goes beyond certain limit, it displays none in our UI, right? So this is the issue that I already discussed with you, Carina. And so today when I look at CVS, it's all independent HCO in the organization in our UI. So I wonder if this search will have a limit of how many organizations under the hierarchy. Do you understand? I don't know if I make myself clear. So today I give you an example. CVS, we have overall in the nation over 10,000 CVS, different facilities under CVS Corporation. Today, when you look at any facility, it displays nothing in our UI because it exceeds some kind of a limit. So, and this is not just I think there's a limit of how many hierarchy you can display. So we have many issues now because our data. So my question is, if I search, anything under CVS corporation, will it display 10,000, let's say 12,000 organization?
So from a graph search, yes, you can search it depends on the search. The graph search will traverse through the relationship and return you back, but it will obviously not solve all the problems that you're facing with hierarchy. That's a separate hierarchy discussion or a solution that needs. But yeah, it depends on the way you form the graph search query. It will obviously return you a certain list of results based on that, and it will return you everything that the search query picks up from the database. But we need to understand more about what the hierarchy requirements are, and I understand the current challenges or limitations that our hierarchy facet has, but that has to be solved separately.
Yeah, this is a requirement actually in the IDEA website, and I voted, and there are a couple of pharma companies who want that solution for a couple of years. So hopefully you can pay attention to that.
Vivian, what I would say is that the limitation is a UI rendering thing, and not the graph query or graph search capability. So I think that you would be able to leverage graph search in order to filter and search across that graph. But it's the rendering of the large hierarchies where you have, I think, over 10,000 objects on a hierarchy at the same time. That presents that. As a follow-up, I think it's important to note, you raised a really good point that today you are using attribution to do some of this graph query. A lot of our customers are leveraging reference attributes in order to achieve a similar results to the graph query in order to identify and use the search capability. I see that requirement essentially being replaced by graph search. And so for most of our customers, what we would like to do is we think graph search is a better answer to that. One, because you can go 3 levels deep. With reference attributes, you can only go 1 level on that graph query. And 2, it just exposes a lot more search filtering capability. So as this gets more fleshed out and gets pushed into GA, I would fully expect that for customers that are using reference attributes to do this graph query like capability, that this will just be a better answer for you in every way.
I actually have a separate, question on the search. So can you, I don't know if you can go back to the more fancy hierarchy that you displayed earlier, where, so if you can display more hierarchy like you did earlier.
Sure. Enact that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was so this is the question we often get asked by our kind of regular clients user. So they want to see if you have a several hierarchy, so today when I say, okay, you start with an employee and you want to find out how many employees in this particular organization, then we can do that from the lower level to the higher. But often they have a list of organization, and then they want to search all the employees belong to that several organization. Is it something that we can do through this graph search? Yeah, so for example, people are asking, in the second layer organization in industry equal professional, right? Professional, scientific, and technical service. Yeah, so they want to say, okay, if I have a list of 10 organizations, can I search all the employees belong to this organization? Today, we cannot do.
Yes. So basically, you should have to start with employee, and then you have a has relationship with organization, and then in organization name, you have to basically list down all the 10 organizations that you are mentioning.
But I don't know the employee, right? They only know the list of the 10 organizations.
Yeah, yeah.
How can you start with that?
Let's clear. So for example, you essentially you want your final list to be a list of employees, right? So
correct.
Employee would be what you want to search on.
Right.
And then you want to search on basically the relationship between employee and organization. So in this case, it's employee of a specific organization.
I have a list of organization.
Exactly. And then if you say, okay, of this list of organization, the name must equals, I don't know if it's like.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see what you, and then you have and, right? Oh no, or actually.
You just type there, like 10 names, you just include it here.
Okay. Okay. I got it.
Cool.
Yep.
So lots more questions. We only have 5 minutes, so I want to try to get through this as quickly as possible. Gene raises a question. You might have answered this, but how much? So from a graph search standpoint, how much data will it export through the UI? Is there some number?
Aberdeep, did you want to get that? So basically, when we export, is there a limit to the number of profiles that they can export?
Yeah, so the export should export like all the data, the entire results. It's that the query picks up from the database.
So you can think of the graph search as a way to identify objects. When we export, it's the same export that you would use today. We've already identified all of the objects, and you just say, give me a file of all of these things that returned in the query. So the graph search doesn't change any of the export capability at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of these questions, it looks like they've been answered. Sandro does say, when dealing with address attributes, it must be run the change through locate. Is that true?
Every address update that when we trigger on a profile automatically gets cleansed with our locate cleanser behind the scenes as part of the normal processing of that object. And then it also gets compared for matching and indexed properly so that it's searchable.
Yeah, so
Sandro?
maybe if I can, I want to expand on that. I'm sorry.
No.
What I was worried about was that, especially for some of the attributes within address, if you want to update it to a certain value, but you want to override what locate did, like we have instances where we have to do that because of some of the setup that's been done in locate. So I'm assuming that when you update an address attribute, it's possible that you can pin it so that you can overwrite what locate does as part of the cleanser.
100%. You can
Okay, that
pin
would
an
be really
override.
useful. Yeah.
You
Okay.
you can also adjust survivorship rules. We have customers that have leveraged their OV rules in order to always default to the data stewardship source, the Reltio source, even over the Reltio cleanser source. And this way, any manual adjustments from a data steward in the UI just automatically win over the Reltio cleanser source. So there's a few different options you could take there, both pinning and through OV definition.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to, I think we answered all the questions, but there's one comment, and it looks like Aberdeep answered it, but Jay says, we do get this kind of question frequently. Show me all the organization of certain type or from certain state and show all the employees / contacts for them. So I think that's a comment, not a question. But
yeah, and as Aberdeep had mentioned in the reply, right now we support only one entity type. So if right now the first entity type that I select, I want to only search for that list of organizations. And so if they want to search for a list of employees, they would have to build another query.
But you could certainly do that with two queries. I could write one query that gave me the list of organizations, and then I could export that and then expand on that to say, give me all of the employees that are part of those organizations, and then export that too.
Right.
I agree.
Great. Well, we almost went the whole entire hour, which I knew we would. So it sounds like there's a lot of buzz around this, Carina. So thank you so much for putting this on. And Aberdeep and Mike, thanks so much for your contributions and helping to answer some of these really tough questions. Vivian, Sandro, and others, thank you so much for your questions. We had some new people ask some questions, so thank you guys for that. This again is recorded and will be shared to the community, by early next week. We do have a webinar coming up on introducing Reltio Integration Hub. I believe that's next week. So I hope these are helpful. Hopefully you really like this one. Please push the comments there, and I'll just ask one more question to the team. Will there be future EA webinars for features like profile activity logs and source views? We want there to be, and I need your help, Angie, in pushing me to know what those webinars are. So something like this is extremely helpful. Sandro does say well done, Carina, Mike, and Aberdeep. Really appreciate that. Hopefully you liked it. Push that in the chat real quick. I know everybody's leaving now, but thank you so much. I'll stay here for a minute or two while everybody leaves. Thanks again, Carina. This was so cool.
Thank you, Carina.
Chris. Thanks, Vivian. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll do it again, JD. Love it.
I like your background, Chris.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Is that your office?
I wish.
Yeah.
No, I just find stuff on, pics and just push them out, so. But yeah, so you're getting some comments that says, let's do it again. Good job. Thank you. Thanks so much. It's helpful. Well, good. Again, Carina, thanks so much. I'm going to leave everybody now, but go to the community.reltio.com to ask your questions. If we missed something, I'll push Carina, Mike, and or Aberdeep to answer those questions. So we'll see you on the community, and we'll see you next week at the next webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Carina. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Yadi.
Take care.
Bye.